I've got Are you a school?
Hi everyone, welcome to the Same Kit Different Day podcast. I'm your host Doug Melia, and today I've got with me CEO of Wagtail UK, Colin Singer. Colin, how are you?
Morning, Doug. How are you? I'm fine,
great,
thank you.
Great, thanks, mate. So, for our listeners, we met some years ago at the Farnborough Air Show initially, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was right. We were down there as part of the security team, weren't we? And I had the explosive detection dogs. So,
And
yeah,
was that early days for your business?
That was the early days of the business. We've been going 17 years now, and I think the first year of that air show was about 13 years ago. Yes, it was the early days.
It was quite one. How many dogs did you have around you then?
Probably about 4.
And to get a rough estimation now?
140.
That's some amazing growth, mate. And you're doing quite a bit of work on the borders, aren't you?
Yeah, so we're contracted by Border Force to provide detection dogs at the juxtaposed controls in northern France.
Yes.
So we work at Calais, Dunkirk, and Coquel, which is the Channel Tunnel, and we've been there for since 2008.
Okay,
so,
cool.
quite a long time.
What kind of things are? Give me an example of some of the things that the dogs are trying to detect.
Well, the dogs for Border Force, we're trying to detect people who are in vehicles and they're attempting to enter the UK illegally. So our dogs effectively screen vehicles and work alongside Border Force officers over in France.
Okay, cool. And that's so it's on both sides you're working, is it?
No, just the French side.
Oh, great, excellent. And then
yeah,
so the dogs. Then I mean, I've got limited knowledge of this. Aside from detecting people, in theory, you can train dogs to detect for pretty much anything. Is that right?
Yeah, in theory, if it's got a scent and it's practical to do so, you can train a dog to detect that scent. So we've got dogs that find firearms, explosives, drugs, cash, tobacco, live bodies, dead bodies. We've even got dogs that can find great crested newts,
yeah,
that carcass, ivory, pangolin scale, live animals, to do with the smuggling of live animals, which is quite topical in the Far East at the moment. So a whole range of different scents, and obviously depending on the requirement of the client, the dogs will specialise in one particular area.
Why would you do a bat survey?
So wind farms, land-based wind farms in the UK, the companies are obliged to carry out a survey to ascertain bat fatalities at their wind farms. So the dog. So you can imagine a wind turbine on a hillside or wherever it may be, an area the size of a football pitch surrounding that wind farm, that turbine, long vegetation and undergrowth. You and me, Doug, looking for bat carcass in that area, it would probably take all day and it wouldn't be particularly accurate.
No.
The dog team can go in and locate the bat carcasses, and then the ecologists then come in and the handler will flag where the bat was found, and the ecologists will come in as part of the survey. So the dogs are about 85% accurate in that environment, and it's time is money. It speeds up the surveys. It's not going to stop wind farms being built or operating, but they just need to know how many are dying, and it may be that they could put a wind farm on not on a migration route in the future. There have been some wind farms where they've turned them off at certain times of the day because of the bat fatalities.
Oh, right.
And and there's one in Leicestershire. There's no lights on in Leicester, but at least the bats are on.
We had the same with the great... We had the same.
What happened?
Go on, mate.
Go on, sorry.
Oh, we had the same with the great crested newt. Sorry to interrupt you. When
Yeah,
we doing evicting sites, they put this sort of black fence all the way round, and I remember
yeah,
someone telling me how much the fence cost, and I was like, "Wow, that's big business that for stopping newts crossing the road."
yeah. It's with a lot of these things. With the Newts, we're working with HS2. We've
Yeah,
worked with Anglia Water, Manchester Smart Waterways, and we continue to work with HS2 because the Newts are protected by UK and European law.
yeah,
And if you kill a newt, you can get fined up to £5,000.
right.
And so we spent 18 months trialing, proving that the dogs could detect the newts. And we have Rocky, a Cocker Spaniel, who's the world's first scientifically proven great crested newt detection dog.
Oh, that's an accolade. That's great.
Yeah, we've featured on the one show. So, yeah, and again, when the construction companies have to halt the work because they discover newts, people have to, the ecologists have to go in and set it up so that the newts can be relocated safely. But with the dog team, they can go in, find the newts more quickly, and time is money, and they can get on with the construction, more quickly. The dogs operate in a way that, because obviously we're looking for a live newt as opposed to a black carcass. So
Right.
the dogs give a sit indication, just a passive indication when they find the newt. And again, the ecologists will accompany the handler, collect the newt, and take it to a safe place, a nearby pond or an environment that's been designated safe for the newts. And the other challenging thing about the trial was the dog has to ignore smooth newts. Smooth newts are not protected,
Yeah.
so we just have to ignore them and frogs and things like that. So during the test, the dog literally should not indicate on the smooth newts, but does indicate on the great crested.
Wow. And so the training for is
Yeah.
that more complicated than the normal training you do?
Not really. It's just an association. So we'll place a newt out. We use real newts, obviously, just like we would use real explosives or drugs. We've actually got a license to keep great crested newts. It took us 2 years to get that license, and we've got 3 of them: Nora, Nellie, and Billy.
Yeah.
And we place a real newt out in a controlled environment, and we then may put other distractors out. So a smooth newt, and effectively what happens during the training process, when the dog indicates on the great crested, he'll be rewarded with his ball.
Yeah.
If he indicates on a smooth, he won't be rewarded with his ball. So he soon gets the hang of it. The great crested is the one where he'll get his ball, and there must be a difference in scent.
Yeah.
For him to distinguish between them.
That's brilliant. It's so much more intricate than you'd think. So just back onto the border agency then. But what kind of fines have you had? You've obviously found people, and what sort of numbers of people?
Yeah, I can't actually say that, Doug, I'm afraid.
Okay.
We found lots of people, but we can't we can't disclose that because the Home Office don't allow us to do it. Sometimes they will say, and then we can republicise it. So unfortunately, I can't.
No, I understand. I can't
say on that one, but yeah, it's a good question and often asked, and I'd love to tell you.
Lots is fine. Lots is the answer we wanted. So the training centre I came to visit you at in North Wales, I was blown away by that. You had mock-up shops. You had mock-up bedrooms where you trained the dogs. Tell us a little bit about that, would you?
Yeah, so we have to train. We have to try and train for reality. So at our headquarters, we've got some training areas, as you say, such as shops, different scenarios where the dogs. When we first take a dog, it may be an unwanted pet or from a rescue centre,
right.
And they're not used to jumping on furniture. They may get told off at home for jumping on the furniture, but we actually encourage them to do that. So we've got rooms set up where, the like nursery areas where the dogs can have fun, express themselves, find the scent, and they get rewarded with the ball. We're bringing out all that energy and drive that they have into a game, and the dogs love what they do, or otherwise they wouldn't do it. And we move away from our headquarters then into real shops, real training scenarios, vehicles, play where they will work. They've got to be competent on baggage belts for airports.
Of course, yeah.
So, and a lot of the tobacco work we do is in self-store establishments. So we've got training areas in self-store establishments, because I don't know if you've ever been in one of those, Doug, but there can be thousands of doors in one of those places. And a lot of them sometimes, they're converted warehouses. Yes. I did one in Coventry where there was 2,000 units on 5 floors. So when we go in there looking for illegal tobacco with trading standards or HMRC, you can imagine, again, 2,000 units, where do we start? So the dog can run up and down. If he indicates on a door, then the officers can take the appropriate action and have a look. So to answer your question, it's training for realism. The training areas you saw at Mostin are a good introduction, and get the dogs, expressing themselves, and then everything we do, we try and train for reality. So quite early on in our evaluation process, we'll get the dogs into busy places such as shopping centres, markets, crowded places where they can get used to all the different noises and the smells, to ensure that once they are trained, they can cope with the different environmental situations.
The distractions, yeah. So something you just said there interests me. I always thought that dogs were bred, which I understand they are, but you get some from rescues, do you?
Yeah, so we have done a puppy. We've had our own puppy development program, which was successful.
Yeah.
But in the main, that is a time-consuming, quite lengthy process.
Yes.
So we do pretty much the same as the police, the armed forces, customs, immigration, border force.
Yeah.
We're looking for dogs that are around about 10 to 12 months old, usually the gun dog breeds such as Labradors, Springer Spaniels, Cocker Spaniels, around about that age, and up to about 2 years. And we're looking for the high drive dog that loves to retrieve, got bags of energy, is confident, good with people, good with other dogs. And we've got a lot of good contact with rescue centres such as Blue Cross. They know what we're looking for. Yeah. So if they see one that may have the qualities, they'll give us a call. So, and then unwanted pets, we may get somebody ring up and say, "Oh, I've got this crazy Springer Spaniel, can't settle in the house, changing family circumstances. Yeah. Would you like to consider it as a detection dog?" So the thing is, one of the challenges we have is there's not enough quality dogs out there. We're after exactly the same dog as the police and the armed forces and other private companies. So that's quite a challenge. But once you get the right dog, you're away. Then it's quite straightforward in training them. And one of the most rewarding parts of my job is to take a dog that is a real nice. Real nice dog would make a great pet, but families can't. A family may not be able to look after it, and to take that dog into a crime-fighting sniffer dog or a dog that can find newts, is really good. It's giving them another chance.
So it's just apart from newts, I've heard of dogs that are able to sense sickness in people and certain conditions. What's your experience of that, or your thoughts on it?
Well, with that, and it's obviously come up a few times over the last few weeks with COVID-19, there's an organisation called Medical Detection Dogs, run by a lady called Claire Guest. And for a number of years, they've done some great work with dogs detecting different diseases such as diabetes and cancer.
Yeah.
And I've seen reports that they've got 6 dogs in training that they're hoping will be able to detect the presence of COVID-19. And obviously we wish them all the best with that. We haven't got involved with that. I think a lot of the work they've done so far with the other diseases, it's laboratory
Yes.
So it's a very clinical environment, and that's not a problem. But they will acquire the samples, so the positive samples, if you like, if someone's got a disease. And again, it's the association thing. They'll place that out when the dog indicates on it, it gets a reward as opposed to a negative sample. I think the challenge, I think the hope is that the COVID dogs may be able to work at airports for passengers coming into the country.
Right.
So the challenge will be taking a dog, that can do it in a laboratory to an operational environment where you've got people streaming through, and
people,
and let's hope that they manage to do it. I'd like to say initially 6 dogs. Maybe if that was successful, they would want to expand that, and if we were asked, we could get involved. But they're doing a great job, so let's hope that they can achieve success with that.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about samples then. So obviously, to train a dog, you said you've got the newts. Is it abnormal for you to get a dead bat in the mail?
I get what, sorry?
A dead bat in the mail? Would that be abnormal for you if you're training? Because obviously, if you're training them to search for bat carcasses, you're going to need one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So sorry. The bat carcasses we acquire from the ecologists, and we keep them in a store, a refrigerated store. They are dead bats, obviously. So, and really the only specific role where we're employed doing that is on turbine sites.
Yes.
And that keeps us really busy across. It's seasonal with this type of work. It's mainly from about March till October with that and the newts. And the newts go into hibernation during the winter. So we're only required mainly, during that period. And going back to the samples with the diseases, I think obviously medical detection dogs, they can work with hospitals and government agencies to acquire these samples, the COVID samples. So obviously that's quite a challenge. So we're not involved at the moment, but maybe we will be in the future.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's a massive. Since you first got involved with this, there must have been such a learning process as the diversity and the need for detection dogs evolved.
Yeah, I was in the RAF for 23 years, and when I came out in 2003, but yeah, I can train dogs. I'll be able to set up a business doing that. But then, as you know, as you run your own business, it's all the other things, so accounting, marketing, strategy, business plans. That I'd never done any of that before. So that was a steep learning curve, and it still is, I suppose. Still learning about business, still learning about dogs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I set it up. I was, like I said, I left the RAF. They gave me the skills to train detection dogs.
Yeah.
For a number of years, I was an operational handler on the mainland UK, explosives handler, which was the best job ever. Really, I didn't wear uniform. I had an unmarked van. I was covered in public military events. That could be a mass bands at the Albert Hall. It could be a freedom parade in one of the cities. So
yes.
I made a lot of contacts with police forces during that time. Excuse me, and that stood me in good stead. But for the first 5 years, I struggled, to be honest, struggled to break even, remortgage my house and took out loans. But it's probably around about 2008, 2 things happened. The newly formed UK border agency at the time needed dogs for France, so we bid for that and got that. And then we were on the Olympic Park at Stratford.
Yes.
4 years before the games, we had explosive drug detection dogs on that site, for London 2012, and then we did some work during the games as well. So yeah, it was a steep learning curve. We've now got over 80 staff, 140 dogs, 140 dogs. So which brings challenges in itself, but it's great. I absolutely love it, though, as much as it's the first day that I started. It's got some fantastic staff across the company, and as you know, that helps greatly. It's, you couldn't do it without them.
No, we always use. I mean, when I have close protection requirements, we always give you a shout to come down and do the meeting halls and things. And and part of it for me is I like speaking to the guys and learning about where you've been. So, what other countries are you working in aside from the UK and France?
Yeah, so we've provided dogs to Africa, Gabon, and Tanzania, um, and those dogs were trained to detect ivory,
Wow.
pangolin,
Yeah.
bushmeat, shark fin. So a lot of the products of animal origin are shipped out of Africa to the Far East.
Yes.
So ivory, pound for pound, I believe it's more expensive than gold. And depending on which report you read, up to 90 elephants a day are killed for their ivory. So it's huge business.
Wow.
And like a lot of these smuggling organisations, whether it be people, whether it be drugs, whether it be products of animal origin, it's funding organised
Yes.
crime, criminal gangs, and potentially terrorists. So there's, we've but in Africa, we've also sent dogs to Hong Kong to detect live animals.
Right.
And quite topical again with live animals.
Yeah.
The markets. The pangolin is like an anteater.
I've seen
animal.
It's like an anteater with scales, isn't it?
That's it, yeah. And it's the scales that are sought after for medicinal purposes. It's the most trafficked mammal in the world. And so we've got the dogs, to protect those. And for Hong Kong, we worked on the dogs that we provided for the Hong Kong government work on the boundaries between Hong Kong and China.
Okay.
Where thousands of people cross the border every day, and animal smuggling is obviously illegal. And then again to Hong Kong, we sent dogs to detect illegal meat. So to bring meat across the border is illegal, and the reason for that was the transportation of the illegal meat could spread the avian flu virus.
Yeah.
The dogs don't detect the virus; they just detect the meat that could, help transmit that virus. So so we've sent dogs to Hong Kong. We've done work with Singapore, and we also provide the dogs for Irish Customs at the Republic. So it's abroad, but not very far away.
No.
Yeah.
Far now with no planes going though, for sure.
Yeah.
So what interests me as well is the name of your company as well, because you talked about dogs sitting to signal certain things. But am I right in thinking that the wagging tail is one of the main signs you'd use?
Well, the reason the company is called Wagtail is when I was in the RAF, my call sign. So if you in Northern Ireland, it originated from security forces. If they need the assistance of bomb disposal, they would call for Felix.
Yes.
And if they needed the assistance of a explosive detection dog team, they would ask for Wagtail. Okay. So in the RAF, my call sign was Wagtail. So within police and military circles, it's a well-known call sign from Northern Ireland days. So to answer the question on the indication, we allow the dog to indicate as much as possible in any way that it's comfortable with, and as long as the handler can read that indication, that's fine. And we do fine-tune it, because initially the dogs in training may become a little bit too keen, and we don't want them touching the target scent. So as I explained about mutes, but obviously we don't want them touching if it's explosives, because it could set something off. With drugs, it could be harmful if ingested by the dog, same with explosives, and preservation of evidence and things like that. So we work on what we call a passive response. So the dog may sit and stare, it may just stand and stare, and freeze. So once it's in the scent picture, it will give an indication to the handler, and the handler will know that is the signal. There could be could be a presence of the target scent. I mean, even when they freeze, depending on the dog, they could be absolutely solid, frozen solid,
Yeah.
or the whole body will be frozen, but the tail will actually be wagging like mad. So it depends. They can, have a waggy tail, but usually it's a passive response with a sit and a stare in anticipation, because we've conditioned them during training, in anticipation of receiving their ball or toy, their favourite toy.
And the behaviour of the dog as well. I suppose you've got to train them to remain pretty calm throughout, even afterwards. Because one of the things I wanted to ask you about was the actual handlers and how at risk they are. Because if you're shipping people, drugs, cash, or something you shouldn't be, and you think you're going to get caught out, you might be a pretty desperate person to get away or to try and evade capture.
Yeah, I mean, the very nature of the work we do, where we could be upsetting people, treading on people's toes, if you like. So we're careful with the security of our staff and, our vehicles. So that's always a consideration. And we just have to be very mindful and very wary of that threat. And all our handlers are briefed to that effect. Probably 40% of our staff are ex-military, so they're used to things like that. And so yeah, it's a good point and something that we're mindful of every day, obviously.
What would be the average day of a dog handler then?
Yeah, so they would, depending on the task that they're doing, the first thing is animal husbandry. So depending on the location, they would certainly exercise and care for the dog. Depending on the dog, may need a morning feed, maybe not. So they exercise the dog, they would clean the dog's kennel. And then if it was an operational task, obviously prepare the vehicle with all the kit required and travel to that task, maybe a briefing with the clients, or for example, trading standards or the police for the tobacco search. And then we, as a company, do it the military way. So each handler will have 2 dogs. So if we're to do a tobacco searches, we would report for the briefing, and then mainly shops and self-store vehicles, maybe some offices. And the working day would probably go over about 6 hours. So the dog isn't working for 6 hours. Like I said before, we've got 2 dogs anyway. So typically, depending on weather conditions and the environment, a dog will work for about 20, 25 minutes, maybe half an hour, and then he would need a break. You then get your second dog out, carry on for another half hour, by which time the dog's had a rest, first one's had a rest. So you can carry on for a couple of hours, really, before the handler needs a break. Over what could be a 6 or 7 hour day. Then travel back to headquarters, exercise and feed the dog again. And, that would be sort of a typical scenario on a UK-based operation. But having the 2 dogs is really good because, let's say, it spreads the workload. And who knows, you may turn up at a task and the dog isn't well.
Yeah.
Maybe lame. You've got the backup dog. That can pick up that, and it's good. Some people say that if you get an indication from a dog, you're not quite sure. It could have been an interest, but not a firm indication. You could get the second dog out and see what reaction you get from the second dog as well, just as confirmation. But I usually work on the 30. If the first dog indicates, then go on that.
But you've got the option of a second opinion. I like how they work in shifts as well. That's one of the things that always fascinate me, because people say, especially when people are pricing things, they're like, well, how much can dog's just having a mooch around, how much can it cost? Well, you've got to look at the fact that you've got to train them, raise it. It's like hiring a security professional, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? All that training that's got into it. And the advantage of the dog is obviously it's quicker, it's more effective, can be more accurate. You're just talking about the newts or the bats or tobacco searches. We'll go into shops, looking for illegal tobacco, and the dog will run around the shop. So a team of officers, where do you start? You've got all the rows of food behind the counter. You've got the storeroom at the back, etc. So at least when the dog goes in and it indicates, it was sort of saying, if you're going to start searching anywhere, search behind that panel.
Yes,
Search
saves a lot
under
of
those
time,
floorboards.
and resources.
Yeah, and some of the sophisticated hides that we come across with the tobacco, electronic hides that are false walls, false ceilings under the floorboards.
Yeah.
The officers would admit they probably would never have found them without the assistance of the dog. So that they're more mobile, and obviously you can move from place to place as opposed to machines. So yeah, people do say they're an expensive commodity, but it's all in context of what you want to achieve.
Of course it is, yeah. So
Really.
what are some of the more... Tell me about some of the finds you've had, what you can tell me. What are some of the most bizarre finds or the most interesting finds you've come across?
Yeah, so I can say we've been working with trading standards since 2010.
Yes.
And with HMRC since 2012. And in the last 4 years alone, with different government agencies, we have found 120 million cigarettes.
Wow.
We've found 50 tons of tobacco, the hand-rolling loose tobacco, and £4 million in cash just in the last 4 years. And the illegal tobacco trade is big business in the UK and a lot of other parts of the world, because you've got genuine cigarettes, which are non-duty paid, so they're shipped in large numbers without paying tax. And then you've got counterfeit tobacco, which is horrible stuff that's imported from the Far East, say China. It has got some genuine tobacco in, so a 50-gram pouch.
What else has it got
Yeah, so they've done tests and it's got rat droppings, asbestos, sawdust, all sorts. That's packed in, and obviously normal cigarettes are not good for your health, but these are even worse.
Yeah.
So smoke, but I believe it's about £10 for a pack of 20 cigarettes and about £18 for a 50-gram pouch of tobacco, and they're selling the cigarettes at £3.50. And the pouches at £5 or £6 pocket money prices, and people take that chance and people buy them. And it's ironic, the penalties for getting caught with illegal tobacco are a lot less than, say, Class A drugs. It's
well, it could be more dangerous, because you always think about, people say, well, all you got to do is look on Facebook and someone's selling fags from a Spain trip or something, and it's always like this. Oh, it's just the government tax collectors, but there's a reason that regulation's there, isn't there? Yeah.
Well, again, the Revenue Customs estimates it's costing the UK taxpayer about £1.8 billion, in tax avoidance with illegal cigarettes. And then there's the counterfeit tobacco side. So they're selling it. They're still making a big profit, and again funding gangs and organised crime and possibly terrorism. Some of the unusual finds have been behind false walls, floorboards, electronic devices that are operated by a key fob. And I can show you some videos of that. Yeah. So the dog will indicate on what appears to be just a blank wall. You find the key fob behind the counter, you press the button, and out pops this shelving, full of cigarettes, or tobacco. Some really clever, sophisticated concealments that these criminals go to. But as I say, it's big business.
I'm sure it is. So what next? What next for Wagtail?
Well, we continue to grow. In fact, even during these challenging times. I mean, we do provide explosive dogs for football stadiums and events, and we provide courses training dog handlers to become detection dog handlers. We're approved by the MOD. Excuse me a second, Doug.
Yeah, sorry.
Can I just pause you for 1 minute?
Of course,
sorry. I'm back on, mate. Sorry.
That's
sorry
all
about
right.
that. yeah. Um, so we provide courses, but that has obviously been postponed. We provide dogs at Premier League football grounds. That's been postponed.
Yeah.
Or that may open up again soon, even with the matches being behind closed doors. They may want some dogs. The conservation work has carried on, but a little bit limited because social distancing isn't a problem too much on a wind farm. So that's okay. But we've just been accredited by the Department for Transport and the Civil Aviation Authority for dogs to screen at airports for cargo.
All right.
So cargo screening process at the moment, there's different methods to use to screen the cargo, but after a lengthy and very tough testing process, we've now got a dog that is approved for screen cargo, and we've got another 7 in the pipeline that we hope that will be accredited once restrictions are lifted. So that is a real game changer for us as well, because the freight forwarding industry, the cargo handling industry, again, are after a quicker method.
Yeah.
And sometimes items are too bulky or too dense to go through an X-ray machine, and that's where the dogs can come in.
So there's there's a real niche for it. So if somebody wanted to be, I heard you mention about recruiting. If someone mentioned to be a dog handler, how would they get in touch with you to recruit or to look at getting on your courses?
Yeah, so our courses are on our website, which is www.wagtailuk.com.
Yeah.
All the up-to-date courses are on there. This very week, we will be posting vacancies for up to 8 dog handlers, preferably near to major UK airports. We're not sure which ones yet, but it'll certainly be Heathrow and London airports and Manchester and anything in between, and maybe over in Ireland as well. So we're growing in that area, and we just continue to hopefully deliver our courses. We're approved by LCAS, as you know, the MOD scheme for service leavers, and continue to develop our dogs at stadiums and major events. There is a new accreditation coming out for explosive detection dog handlers. We hope soon.
Oh, right,
we're part of a small working group with the Home Office, CPNI, police, in a scheme called NACTAF, which is the National Canine Training Accreditation Scheme. And in a nutshell, what that is it's accreditation that all police dog handlers will comply with. And once all police dog handlers have reached that accreditation, because they currently work to an ACPO standard, and they've just revamped it and renamed it, as it will be called NACTAF. As soon as that has been completed by the police, then hopefully we know that private companies will be invited to join that. And that's really good for us, because it keeps, the providers of explosive detection dog teams then have got to be of the same standard as the police, and that's a reassurance for the client. Our aim is to provide safety, assurance, and security in an uncertain world. Doug.
I remember your slogan.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So, what you got on for the rest of the day, Colin? Colin, it's been great speaking to you. I've really learned loads about that. I mean, I knew a bit about your company, but some of the finds you've got is great. So, anything else today?
No, I'm just carrying on now with a couple of tender opportunities and some marketing. I'm working from home. All our staff are classed as key workers, because of the work we do through the Home Office and the support. So, so we've still got plenty of people working at the office, and obviously the kennel staff do a fantastic job, keeping the dogs fit and healthy and looked after for us. So that's my day, just working from home really, and a couple of Zoom conferences later with clients. But I've actually quite enjoyed working from home.
Good. Well, nice. You're probably like me, mate. You're probably on the road all the time, and you've finally got a chance to ground yourself and get some of the stuff you needed to do done. If you're anything like me.
Yeah, amazing the amount of jobs that you can get done in between, especially at the weekends. So, but yeah, hopefully though will be, restrictions, safety permitting, the restrictions will lift over the coming weeks and months, and we can get back to normal.
I'm sure it will. I'll pop up and see you. Colin, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Doug. Thanks very much for asking, and good luck to yourself, and hopefully we'll speak soon. You're always welcome to come and see us whenever you get the chance.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Colin. Bye, mate.